الله عليه وسلم والدعاء إلى الهدى والدلالة على الخير ابتغاء وجه الله مرضاته وقربه وثوابه سبحانه وتعالى. Begin our evening session off, of course, giving Allah praise and thanks. Wanted to pick up and sort of segue into tonight's lecture by referencing the khutbah that we talked about in the khutbah as it concerns the social justice in Islam and how this is an integral aspect to Islam. And we also that we have to have an action plan as Muslims. We actually had a interfaith meeting where we shared some thoughts with people from other faiths, and one of the things that we come together and we recognize as a people is that we as a human race right now, we lack compassion, we lack empathy, right? Empathy amongst people. And you still find, well, even amongst Muslims or just in society in general, you find a lack of empathy, lack of compassion for your fellow man, right? So it's something that we have to look to revive amongst ourselves, to revive this within our hearts, that we care about social justice, and that we as Allah tells us in the Quran, that oh those who believe, stand for justice, even if it's against yourselves or your family or your close relatives and so on and so forth, that we stand for justice. So we understand, and this is important to recognize this, that when we speak about spiritual affairs in Islam, or affairs that don't immediately seem that they have much to do with social justice, that actually the most fundamental form of justice that a person can apply in his own life is applying it to himself or herself. This is a being just with oneself and not oppressing oneself. This is the best sort of social justice. And that once a person looks to rectify himself internally, this is the quickest means to rectify the world and to fix things in the world. Now, so this is important to understand. This is the Islamic perspective. Now, it's important to also recognize that this doesn't mean that we don't protest as Muslims. This doesn't mean that we don't civilly engage. It just means that we have sort of a flow chart, that we work on ourselves. We try to bring this Islamic light into our lives. Then we try to reflect it out through varying means, through engagement. And this is important. This is to say that we look to learn, apply, and then teach it to others, / engage. This is important. So there are some activists out there that there's no learning, there's no application, but there's engagement. Right? So this is, subhanAllah. This is why Imam al-Ghazali, radiallahu anhu, people wonder, why didn't he have a chapter of martial engagement in his Ihya Ulumuddin? Why didn't he have a chapter on jihad? Right, the J word that, sometimes it's controversy in these times. But Imam al-Ghazali, one of the biggest scholars in Islam ever, he doesn't have a chapter on martial engagement in his Ihya Ulumuddin. Why is that? Right? Of course, there's a wisdom there. The wisdom is that if you're not applying these things, if you're not applying certain fundamentals in your deen, then don't worry about trying to transform the world. Don't worry about trying to politically engage just yet. That applies certain fundamentals in the religion. I mean, it may sound, 1 + 1 = 2 to some of us, but not for everyone. Trust and believe that there are people who think they represent Islam on the world stage. They're not praying, or they don't pray on time, they don't fast, they don't have any understanding of Islam, but they want to change the world or transform the Islamic world, right? And this is not the mode, this is not the Islamic way. The Islamic way is very, very simple, that we look to study, we look to apply what we learn, and then we engage, or we teach, so on and so forth. Some very, very simple sort of flow chart, not complex, but it goes back to us really understanding our faith and looking to apply it. This is the manhaj of Imam al-Ghazali. This is the manhaj of the righteous scholars. This is the manhaj that we stick to regardless of what the times throw at us, regardless of any COVID virus, regardless of social distancing, regardless of whatever else is going on in the world today, and it's so much, regardless of the current events in the times, that we have a certain methodology, a fundamental methodology that we stick to and we apply, and this is actually the way forward. Right? This is our mode of moving forward and grappling with the times, so to speak, with all the tragedies and the crimes that we see in our times, crimes against human beings, the amount of satanic things that we see on television. And I mean, we can talk about this, beating a dead horse here, talking about it so much, so we won't really focus on that. We'll focus on how we rectify ourselves and how we bring this light of Islam into the world. We'll focus on that, inshallah ta'ala. So now in the Book of Assistance, we've reached chapter 11. Chapter 11. So chapter 11, it's on doctrine. What is this doctrine? This doctrine is the fundamentals of Islamic belief. Fundamentals of Islamic belief. And sometimes we overlook this. We overlook the study of our Islamic creed. We don't study it to a fundamental level. Right? 6 pillars of Iman. Imam Nawawi said, if a person claims to be a Muslim, but he doesn't know the 6 pillars of Iman, can't be a Muslim. Not my words, Imam Nawawi's words. If you don't know that you need to believe in Allah, believe in the messengers, and believe in the angels, day of judgment, right? If you don't understand that, no, we need to believe in these things, the books, right? The qadr, Allah's power, Allah's predetermination. If we don't know that we need to believe in these things, we can't be a Muslim. Again, we say it over and over again, but our religion is knowledge-based. We have to study. We have to know what we're doing. It's not just a random cultural concoction or coming together. You know, my parents are Muslims, so I'm Muslim too. It's not Islam. Right? That we have to study our religion. It's critically important in our day and age because we have a lot of what we call devils running around, or wolves in sheep's clothing. Right? This is rife. So the Shaykh, he will talk about doctrine and how there are varying factions, that they're Muslims, but there are varying factions. And there's only one group that is the guided group. It's the people who follow the Prophet's Sunnah, and that they look to connect themselves with the Prophet's righteous students. They respect the companions, and they have a lineage or a sanad. So this is the rightly guided group. Right? There are other groups of Muslims. We don't say that they're not Muslim, but we do believe that the methodology of the Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah, this is the correct methodology. Right? Now, the Shaykh, he begins, you must correct and protect your beliefs